Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The Fair Work Amendment Bill is an important piece of legislation that stands not only as evidence into this government's commitment to fairness, but also our commitment to ensuring that all workers, regardless of their circumstances, are treated with dignity and respect. The labour market in Australia and across the world has undergone profound transformations in recent decades. Particularly since COVID, we have completely reshaped the way we work, the way we live and the way we relate to employment. These changes, also driven by technological advancements, globalisation and evolving economic conditions, have undoubtedly made our lives more convenient, but they have also ushered in a new era for Australian workers. As our labour market evolves, so too must our industrial relations laws. They must adapt and improve to ensure they safeguard workers' rights and well-being effectively. The gig economy has become a prominent player in our country's labour sector, offering flexible employment opportunities to a diverse range of workers. The flexibility of gig work benefits many, providing the freedom to work when and where they choose. However, and this is important, this flexibility should not come at the cost of workers' basic rights and protections. Deputy Speaker, it's crucial to strike a balance between supporting this newfound flexibility whilst also safeguarding the well-being of those who participate in this growing sector in our economy. And that balance between rights and flexibility currently does not exist in our industrial relations system. There is an imbalance, and this legislation seeks to fix that. With this bill, the government will preserve the benefits of the gig economy whilst ensuring that those who gig work have the rights that they deserve. Many gig workers value the flexibility and autonomy that gig works provide them, and the government has no intention of altering the fundamental aspects of their gig employment. Our goal is not to force individuals into becoming employees when they do not wish to do so. The gig economy offers a wealth of opportunities and flexibilities, but the benefits of gig work should not come at the expense of below minimum wage pay. We must ensure that gig workers receive fair compensation for their efforts. We must eliminate the risk of exploitation that can occur when wages fall below acceptable standards. We do not want to see a future where workers rely on tips to make ends meet. We do not want an American-style wage system here in Australia. And I'm proud that Australians and Aussies are stingy tippers, because that shows that our workers are well paid, and long may they continue. On this side of the House, we envision a future where every worker is treated and paid fairly and justly, one where tips are not essential to make ends meet. To achieve this balance, we propose to extend the powers of the Fair Work Commission to encompass employee-like forms of work, ensuring that workers in this sector are afforded the same rights and protections as their counterparts in traditional employment arrangements. This is not radical, Deputy Speaker. It's about fair work, fair pay and conditions. This change will allow the Fair Work Commission to make orders for minimum standards for new forms of work, such as gig work, creating a safety net for workers in that field. It will also provide crucial protections against unfair deactivation for gig workers, where digital labour platforms have them regularly engaged for 6 months. Deputy Speaker, as we navigate this rapidly changing employment environment, we must ensure that small businesses are given the necessary support and flexibility to thrive in an ever-changing labour market. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, and their resilience and determination contribute significantly to our nation's prosperity. I grew up in and running a small business, Deputy Speaker. My first paycheck was from my family small business, and yes, it was an actual cheque that I had to go to the bank to cash out. I get small businesses, and I'm glad that this legislation acknowledges small businesses' important role in our economy. Within this legislation, we are not only recognising the importance of small businesses, but also providing them with support they need to succeed and grow. That's why this legislation implements transitional arrangements and total exemptions to help small businesses get where they need to be. In our commitment to supporting small businesses, we are taking a proactive step by developing a voluntary small business wage compliance code in partnership with employer and employee groups. This code will help small businesses navigate the wage compliance landscape ensuring they understand their obligations and rights under the law. Evidence of compliance with this voluntary code will not only demonstrate a commitment to fair industrial practices, but it will also shield small business owners from criminal prosecution by the Fair Work Ombudsman. Instead of punitive action, the Fair Work Ombudsman will have the authority to issue compliance notices that require workers to be repaid if underpayments are discovered, or it may take civil action if necessary. It's important to note that civil action is not the default for small businesses, nor should it be. This approach is designed to foster a collaborative environment where small businesses can thrive while ensuring the fair treatment of our workers. This approach in this legislation exemplifies the Albanese government's commitment to finding practical, supportive solutions that empower small businesses rather than imposing unnecessary burdens. Further, it's helping small businesses support their employees. In the face of economic strain on their business, many businesses sometimes need to downsize. In the case that that business then becomes insolvent, employees who have remained employed during the downsizing lose their redundancy pay entitlements through no fault of their own. It's an issue that warrants attention and resolution. This legislation seeks to amend the Fair Work Act to address an anomaly in the way small business redundancy exemption operates in insolvency scenarios. Key elements of the proposal include amending Section 121 of the Fair Work Act and introducing provisions that modify the application of the small business redundancy exemption when an employer goes bankrupt or enters liquidation. This modification is designed to ensure that employees who have faced insolvency-related downsizing are not unfairly deprived of their redundancy entitlements. Importantly, the proposed amendments will not change the operation of the small business redundancy exemption for solvent and viable small businesses who will continue to enjoy exemption from redundancy pay obligations. The proposed amendments are specifically designed to prevent the loss of redundancy entitlements for employees whose employers have downsized due to insolvency. This will not affect businesses that have successfully restructured or those wound up in solvent circumstances, excluding liquidations resulting from a member's voluntary winding up. In a nation that upholds the principles of equity and accountability, we must ask ourselves a fundamental question. If a worker steals from the cash register, it's considered a criminal offence. But when an employer pilfers from a worker's hard-earned wages, it often goes unpunished. The wage theft epidemic has plagued our nation for years, and the previous government's inaction allowed it to fester. It took them years to even acknowledge the existence of this problem, and when they finally introduced some half-hearted legislation, they voted against their own proposal when it reached the Senate. Employers who knowingly and intentionally steal from their workers' pay packets should face the full force of the law. To be a country that stands up for workers' rights, we must hold those who knowingly withhold wages to account. We are taking steps to do that by introducing criminal penalties for wage theft. This will apply to employers who intentionally engage in conduct that results in underpayment and aims to address Fair Work Act entitlements while not affecting contractual entitlements or superannuation. To ensure that criminal sanctions are reserved for those who intentionally underpay, the proposal includes mechanisms to encourage businesses to self-disclose underpayment. This bill is not about punishing employers who genuinely make a mistake. It will, however, encourage businesses to do the right thing. The Voluntary Small Business Wage Compliance Code, developed in partnership with employer and employee groups, supports compliance and offers evidence of adherence to prevent the Fair Work Ombudsman from pursuing criminal prosecution. Instead, underpaid workers will be repaid and non-punitive actions may be taken, such as issuing compliance notices. In addition to the code, a cooperation agreement provides another pathway to encourage compliance. Employers who disclose potential wage theft to the Fair Work Ombudsman can enter into such an agreement which safeguards employees' timely repayment while ensuring that criminal proceedings are only used as a measure of last resort. Furthermore, the proposal extends liability for wage theft to the Commonwealth, ensuring that the government adheres to the same standards it imposes on the private sector. When we talk about wage theft, we cannot ignore the genuine impact on its victims, like David from Ryde in my electorate of Bennelong. David had been working full-time for 18 months when he resigned on November 2, 2021. Little did David know that he would become embroiled in a distressing battle against his former employer, who he later learnt had a continuous reputation for not paying his employees' entitlements, including superannuation. Since October of the previous year, around 15 employers have left David's former workplace and have yet to receive their rightful entitlements. This non-payment pattern not only jeopardises individual workers' financial security, but also contributes to a culture of exploitation that has no place in our society. David's personal losses in this ordeal include unpaid superannuation to about $45,000. However, the total outstanding debt owed to these 15 individuals is staggering, reaching an estimated $500,000. These are not just numbers on a ledger, Deputy Speaker. They represent the financial well-being of individuals and their families who work just as hard as we do. In response to these grave injustices, David has lodged a complaint with the ATO, and the ATO, recognising the seriousness of the situation, has issued a debt notice to the company's director. Yet David's ex-employer continues to ignore and deny the debt, perpetuating the cycle of exploitation and disregard for the rights and dignity of workers. David's story is a stark reminder of why legislative changes like this bill are so urgently needed. This legislation is necessary, and it is the right thing to do. It's designed to protect Australian workers and to correct the injustices that have persisted for far too long. It aims to close loopholes that have allowed unscrupulous employers to exploit hard-working Australians, depriving them of wages that they have rightfully earned and the conditions that they are entitled to. It's a critical step towards safeguarding workers' rights and ensuring that all Australians can enjoy the benefits of a fair and just workplace. The Fair Work Amendment is a significant step towards building a more just and equitable society. It closes the gaps in our existing labour laws, ensuring that all workers are protected from exploitation, discrimination and unfair treatment. This bill promotes fairness, job security and equality while fostering a dynamic and competitive business environment. Fair and equitable workplaces aren't only what's best for Australian people, they're what's best for our economy. When workers are empowered and treated fairly, they contribute to a thriving economy, strengthening businesses and build a more prosperous future for all of us. By closing loopholes in our industrial laws, this proposal ensures that every worker can confidently step into their workplace knowing that their rights are protected and that their contributions are valued. This bill is a testament to our commitment to building a society where everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, have an equal opportunity to succeed.